We're so fired up that it killed Bobby's mic. StreamYard won't even let him in. We're just on fire. We're ready to rock and roll.
Well, it's got you on the right. It's got you on the left. It's huge.
There we go. Yeah, it switched it up a little bit here.
You're in the driver's seat today, man.
Uh-oh, we're in trouble.
Founder Jam is back. We're switching it up a little bit. We had a little bit of a break, a little interruption, if you will. And that is our topic for today. So Founder Jam, what are we, 17 now?
Believe so.
You know what 17, Joe, do you know, I know rapid fire is not until later, but do you know the significance of the number 17?
I got no shout out for number 16. So I don't know if we can. No, I'll be the bigger person, and we'll give you a shout out for your fantastic jersey number back in the day.
Yes, you got it.
Number 17.
You were number 16, right? Because
you always got to be one better than me, huh, Bobby? You always got to be one better.
Well, may he rest in peace, but I believe Joe Gardy used to require that kickers and punters had the number 6 in their number. Is that correct?
True story. Yep, that's true.
What the heck is that? Why? What is the significance of that?
I was okay with that. I had 26 in my first college, so 16. Look, 16 looked good on me, so I was okay with it.
It wasn't you, man. It was the number.
Oh wow. Well, whatever the reason. Whatever the reason.
that 16 looked really good in those freezing cold games in the Northeast.
Yeah, just especially like, up in Maine.
Yeah, man. And number 17 wasn't too helpful either when coming off the bench, freezing the butt off. Anyway.
Good to be back, man. Good to be back in action.
It is good to be back. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Founder Jam. As usual, we got people jumping on here. This is great. Looks like we got some Periscope members. We got some Facebookers today. This is cool.
Excellent.
Thank you for the patience with what we do here. So if you are new to Founder Jam, it's the first time you're checking it out, you're on Mr. Nolan's LinkedIn profile. You saw an announcement. We are a weekly entrepreneurial Twitter chat and live broadcast. We'd love to talk about all good things, entrepreneurship, founders. That's why we call it Founder Jam, because we get together and we jam about a topic for about a half hour, usually bleeds over a little bit. And more recently, we've been doing our probably our most exciting segment of the show. We call it Rapid Fire, where one of us will throw some questions. Honestly, it ends up being a little bit less than rapid because
it's pretty slow. It's pretty slow, to be honest. To be honest with the audience, it's slow but entertaining.
Yes, entertaining is true. Fast it is not. Rapid it is not, but entertaining it is. So anyway, we wanted to talk about interruptions today because you know what? I've been in business now for myself, for my partner and myself for a few months now, and we have learned that interruptions come no matter how well you plan for things. It doesn't matter. Interruptions can come. We are at the end of the quarter. It is the 30th of June. So if you are looking at some quarterly numbers here, I would encourage you to think about how many times business was interrupted and for what various reasons over the last quarter. And maybe, just maybe, one of the questions today will help you work through some ways to maybe either prevent that or what to do if there is an interruption. So, Joe, before we start with questions, anything you want to add to the pre-discussion?
No, I think, we try to focus on topics that are common, right? And I think overall with this one, everyone has the best intentions, but the reality is we can't control everything, right? There's always variables outside of our control, from seemingly very minute and small to macroeconomic trends, you name it, right? So there's tons of variables out there. We can't control all of them. What we can control is how we react to them. And that's very important, regardless of the size of your business. So what we're talking about today, interruptions, they will happen. I would say this, they don't always suck. Sometimes they can be really positive. Sometimes they can be great. They don't always have to be negative. Probably most often are challenging. But let's dive into it. I think it's just important that people realize they're going to happen. They're here. We can't avoid them. We can try. We're going to talk about that, and can't avoid all of them, I guess is what I should say. And there are certainly, though, better ways to deal with them than others. So that being said, maybe let's kick it off, man.
Cool. All right. So we have question number 1. Let's go
All
to
right, cool.
the Twitter chat.
Cool. Question number 1 is live.
Live. Here we go. Founder Jam question number 1. Does your business have a plan for interruptions? What do you do when that happens? Are you prepared, or is it just kind of like we wing it? You want to give this one a go? You've been in business longer than I have.
No winging it on our side since we're running. Since it's the media side, if we start winging it and shut things off, there's going to be a lot of issues. No more money coming in. So we have a plan. It's important. Very interesting for us is we encountered a lot of this, especially with new clients during COVID, right? I mean, there was a lot of different types of interruptions during COVID from personnel standpoints. That became front and center. And I think personnel may be a good place to start, especially with smaller businesses, right? You have limited personnel, limited capacity. So how do you hedge against that? We do a lot of cross training at Jono Marketing. So certainly, you can't duplicate someone's 25 years of experience, but you can learn enough to be competent, for short periods of time and kind of get the job done, to kind of manage through a week, 2 weeks, a month of less than normal, business activity. So for us, we do a lot of cross training. We have multiple partners, right? As we've grown, we've also diversified our partners, which might be interesting for some businesses out there. I think of always like with physical goods and supply chains, right? If you get all of your paper plates, or food supplies from one provider, right? How easy is it for you to switch to another one, even if just temporary, in case there's an issue? So we've done that with our web dev, with creative partners. We've begun to diversify there. So we are always planning for this. We obviously like plan for the worst, hope for the best type of situation. But across our particular lines of business, we do have those plans, and we work hard to communicate those with our partners too. I don't think we have some questions coming up on the implementation of plans, right? Because the plan is only as good as when it begins to be executed, and I think that's important too. We'll get to that in a little bit, but yeah, we do have a plan. I'm surprised, bro, by how many businesses don't have plans, even at not necessarily a corporate level, but a departmental level.
Yeah.
A team level. What if team member, a small team at a giant company? Maybe 5 people, someone's on vacation, someone's out sick. Excuse me, it's not COVID, I promise. But all of a sudden, right, your team from 5 goes down to 3. I think that might be the most common for people joining us today that work at big companies. Everyone feels it, right? Everyone feels it when a certain number of people go out on the team. So I'm surprised leading into this of how many people we've heard from that don't have any plans. It's been quite interesting.
I'm with you, man. It's amazing how you just don't think about these things when you're not
Yep.
in a position for 12 years. I never had to think about, well, what happens if things shut down or someone's gone,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
right.
Yeah, we were running a team for a while there, but it's just a little bit different. There's just a much smaller scope of things that you have to worry about. So let me tell you, if I can teach anyone one thing today, it's interruptions will happen. You cannot avoid them.
Right.
It doesn't matter how good you are at your job or how effective the people around you are. All of those other topics that we've talked about on Founder Jam, you can be excellent, perfect at all of them, but interruptions will not be avoided. So what does that mean? I've learned this lesson myself already this year with a couple different things happening, whether it's internet, computers. There's a couple of times that I've been on a call, Stacy's been on a call, and there's one task that we've been assigned to, and the other person knows nothing about it, and we couldn't get a hold of each other. It just, those things happen. I don't care how many Slack channels you have, how many messages. It just doesn't work. You need to have an answer for all of that stuff, especially the major type of things, because you want to have a plan to at least mitigate whatever could happen. Now, you mentioned, Joe, that there could be some good things that happen in an interruption, and those are far and few between at least my experience here in the short while. However, I do understand what you're saying. but it's those negative ones that you want to avoid. So really, I would assume people out there probably are looking for actionable steps to do this. And I'm kind of in the process right now of developing these things myself, so I can provide a couple suggestions. You might have some more formal examples of things to do. But for me, the first thing that I did after we experienced our first kind of major interruption was identify those non-negotiable type of emergency situations. And even if it's outlandish, but like if hypothetically, if I drop dead, what is Stacy going to do? I mean, she'll probably throw a party, but at least
I actually got the calendar invite. It says "do not forward" to Bobby, but I was just like,
did you file that one?
I don't know. I promise that's a joke. There is no email, just in case anyone's watching. That's totally a joke. Totally a joke.
So we could get into formal discussions about business interruption insurance and those type of things for companies that really need to insure certain things. But even before that, just what is Stacy going to do if, for example, for us, it's rebalancing day of the quarter, and we need to adjust investment policies, and we need to make sure that people's portfolios are properly balanced, and something happens to me, who knows? We can't get a hold of me. My computer's not working. I'm caught up on a phone call. God forbid something happens in my family. She's got to know at least how to access the notes and things that I have so that she can contact the right person at our custodians and execute those things. So that's right. That was just an example of one of those things that we noted. If this happens, we need to know right away. And so the first thing I did was create a list of those like priority
P1s, man, right? Yeah. It's what we would say, we were jamming before this, like my background on the crisis and reputation side, right? So that there is formal training. There are practitioners and in this space on the operations side, on the business side, and on the communications management side. So I'm more on the communications management side. Yeah. But what both sides of that would say is, the 2 to 3 hours, that you invest in this diligently for small businesses, teams, right? Obviously, some of these playbooks, are 600-700 pages at large corporations, obviously, but for your small team, the 2 to 3 hours of planning, where you said, look, we made a list of the top 10 things that we could think of that are most likely to occur, right? Those 2 to 3 hours become invaluable should one of those 10 things occur. Because that time you put in now is so critical to being successful. Being successful, defining success that's a whole nother pounder jam. But mitigating risk of what's happening, right, and lessening the negatives of what happens in the future by planning a little bit, taking what are those top 5, 10 things, force ranking them P1, 2, 3, and then here are the immediate steps. It's just a Word doc, right? We're not talking about anything fancy. There's plenty of books out there. Look up for people watching around crisis management, business continuity a little bit, depending on the size of your business or type of work. Business continuity is another. There's tons on that, especially in like the engineering and science spaces, obviously. But yeah, no, you bring up a great point, man. It is as simple as starting out with a list. Step 1. Start out with a list, and always be. I'll tell you this though, from learning about this one, man. Here's an anecdote. When you start building this list and you say, "Oh, that'll never happen," put that on the list. It makes it on the list. In every company I've had, there is someone in the room who's got an MBA from an amazing school that everybody wished they went to, and someone just blurts out, joking or not, "Oh, could you imagine if that happens?" I'm telling you, then the leader is like, "It's on the list. It just made the top 10," because it will come to fruition. As outlandish as it sounds,
if you speak it, it will come.
You have like manifested it by bringing it up in the planning meeting. Yeah. So I promise people, like when people sit around and say, "Oh, the power will never go out," or "the CEO would never do that." I know him or her. I know him or her. They would never say that.
What are they,
person, crazy? Yeah. Never. Yeah, great guy. I barbecued with him last weekend. True story. That came up. That was one comment. Or like, we pay him all this money and he still does that? Never. Oh yeah, it'll happen. I was just at that store. That could never happen there. Nope, it'll happen. So if you're catching on here, everyone watching, the reality is you really, like Bobby said, you can't avoid these. And if you don't think it'll happen, put it on page one. It makes it on page one.
Yeah, if you can think of it, it's possible. And
And
especially
here's the other thing, Google it. Here's the other thing now, right? Just Google it and you look at how many times it's actually happened to other people.
That's a good one too.
You know,
The reason why you even thought of it is probably because you heard of something like that happening before, and you were probably like, "Oh, why would they do that? Our CEO or our middle level manager would never do something dumb like that."
you know, I mean, we were talking, right, from hacking to employees to board members, to product malfunctions, executive scandals. I have been involved in so many of these, and I'll be honest, most of them are moments, most of them, 80% of them are moments where you go, what the heck? We don't have a beep button here, so I got to be
What the
careful.
bleep?
But you get in a room and you go, what? How the hell? And those are the situations that are literally, you know, Anderson Cooper's talking about, and they're on the front page of the New York Times for 48 hours, right? So it will happen, right? Those types of things will happen.
Well, I can tell you, we have our list, and we haven't gone down the road of what would happen if Bob did something dumb like that, but I guess it's possible. So all the stories, make the list, don't be stingy, and then after the list is made, then you can start ranking things, what you think really is truly the most risky, and then go from there. And they say time is money. Well, think of putting the time in to do this kind of like an insurance premium. You know, you don't want these things to happen, but it's worth a little bit of time to put in case they do. And so that's how you plan for interruptions.
Yeah, and I'll just give one quick example here so people can understand with a little more context to like the nth degree of what big corporations go through. Because I've brought this up. Like, have you ever heard of ghost pages on the website?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Well, you have in your business. So that I'm asking the wrong person here. But take these 600-700 page books, right? To the degree these companies plan, they will have ghost pages. So web pages that are not indexable, not crawlable, that maybe at a company of 20,000 people, 3 people have access to, that at any moment from anywhere on the planet, they can push it live. And so if a plant is, you know, goes out of operation, if something happens with an executive, if the other part of the website goes down, whatever it might be, but literally we're talking they could have 100 pages. And they're called ghost pages.
Ready to go.
They are set up, ready to go, that within probably 2 minutes of being told to push it live, it can go live. And a lot of those are landing page for an issue, you know, of some kind. You know, we refer to these as issues, right? Because that's, you know, kind of a neutral perspective on them. So even like the language that people use to define situations becomes critical to keeping the right headspace. So there's so much detail in this line of work. But just think about it, right? Like your favorite brand that you go to their website every day has somewhere locked away 100 pages in a moment's notice, can go live to address every situation their PR and business consultants have thought of that could go wrong with their business.
Yeah, that's a great actionable step. Create the page, because you're going to have to make the announcement. You're going to have to address those things. So why not have it ready to go in case it happens? You would never want to show those to anyone. Like, well,
no, that's the thing. Like, no one can access them, man. And so I've been in the places where by the time you leave the meeting about it with the C-suite and get back to your desk to text your significant other you're not going to be home for dinner on time, the page is live, right? So it's been that quick. And now, right on the comm side, we take that URL and we broadcast it out to the world, right? We tweet it out. It's on Facebook. It's on Instagram. It's sent to media. So that's kind of the power on the comm side, right? That's how it flows there. And then I've been in other companies where in the C-suite, the head of IT says that'll take 72 hours to populate and get the message out. And that's really unpleasant feeling when they tell you it's going to be 2 to 3 days before we can get a landing page up, and the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal are already covering the issue. I've always thought, you know, that poor person in IT. not cool, man. It's not a good place it's not a good seat to be in at the table. when that
Yeah.
happens. So best be prepared.
All right, cool, man. I think that's some great actionable stuff right there. So if you're a founder, business owner, entrepreneur, have a plan, set up some things. One good option is to have web pages ready to go that you can hit live if something happens, if it's a communication issue or something that you need to share or get out ahead of in the media. So, question number 2, man. Let's hit her up.
Yes, sir. Question number 2 is live.
Okay. How do you proactively avoid interruptions and sidetracks? So this is not a reactionary type of thing, like let's have something ready to go, but maybe try to avoid them. And I think you gave enough information on the last one. I can jump in on this one.
Go for it, man.
So for us, it's first of all, for all the things that are technology related and communications related, we have backups for just about everything, whether it's internet in our homes or backup email addresses, connections, backup phone numbers, backup ways to passwords and things to access the different software. Just about everything we have is not just about everything, literally everything that we have for communication with our partner families and ourselves is all online. So we have backup, like I said, ways to get into those systems. We also have a somewhat of a protocol of what happens if whoever is the primary person cannot handle it. And sometimes it's just as simple as the other person handling it. But a lot of times it includes having to go to that software or service provider, just because I'm not an expert and I don't use some of the software that Stacey uses as much. So we try to proactively avoid interruptions by having a secondary way to handle that problem. And then sidetracks. I like how you slid sidetracks in there, or the copy team did in their preparations, because I think sidetracks can almost be just as destructive as interruptions, really, because sometimes a sidetrack can keep you off track for quite a bit of time. And by the time you get back to what you had to do, it's almost like you weren't even there because you got to get re-involved in the system. So, I mean, for me, sidetracks is as simple as having a calendar and a schedule. I mean, unless it's one of those like A1 type of super important things that you're talking about that I know I can put away or stop whatever I was doing. If it's something that doesn't fall into that hyper-focused like top 3 category, then it's just time blocking. It's like, I will, even if I get an email that's about something crazy happening, I will not touch that email until a specific period of time. I know that I have to get this meeting with a partner done. I have to know that I got to speak with a vendor or an investor. I know that those things have to get done first. So I just do my best not to get sidetracked. In my previous role, I will tell you this, I was the king of getting sidetracked. And that's all I would do. That honestly, that was my job.
True. That's a great point.
Was to get sidetracked. That you just put out all the fires, Bob. You make sure that everyone's doing the right thing. And when someone screws something up, you come in and fix it. You drop everything that you're doing and you fix it. And I realized that this is not an efficient way of doing things. And another reason, if you haven't noticed over these past few months of Founder Jam, of why we started our own business, because it enabled us to be more isolated in our responsibilities. So sidetracking is a terrible, terrible thing. It's just it's destructive. It's toxic, honestly, because then the responsibilities that truly are yours, you get behind in them. You're not handling them, so you look like you're not getting stuff done. And now you're a leader of your team or your business, and you're telling your team, "Hey, you got to get this done. You got to get this done by deadline." And they're looking at you and they're like, "Well, look at you. You didn't get your stuff done by deadline." And in the back of your head, it's like, "Well, it's because I was cleaning up your mess." It's just a toxic thing, right? So you want to make sure that you block out specific time. And I think you've heard me talk about the 12-week year before on here, which is a business planning and system. And it's a book, and you can check it out. 12-week year. It's a very, very easy read. But one of the things that they have on there are buffer blocks in your week. And those buffer blocks are basically sidetrack preventers, so that you have that specific half hour to an hour period of time. I think it recommends that you have, I want to say it's 3 hours a week in total. Maybe I'm wrong. Somewhere in there, it could be 3 hours on a Friday, or it could be a half hour a day, and an hour on a Friday, whatever.
I need about 20 hours. Can we talk with them about planning around 20 hours?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
You don't want to have, you don't want those sidetrack things to take you away from the most important stuff. And then one last example. I know I'm talking a lot, but we talked about the rocks, sand, and pebbles example. Same idea. The rocks have to go in the bucket first. So scheduling time for the buffer period will make sure that the rocks are not being prevented from getting into the bucket. So your thoughts, man?
Yeah, well, I think, right, something in the beginning really struck me where you said, the sidetracks can kind of linger. And I think that's a really good point of when we think of interruptions, we used to say on the crisis management side, like when the consultants come in, they go, man, we love being on the outside because we come in, we deal with it, it ends, everybody goes back to work, and we leave. And you have to stay there and go to work with everyone again and all your partners again. That's really hard, right? So this notion of like an interruption having a start and an end, that's a very finite thing, is really important. And I think good business leaders can turn the sidetracks into the start and ends, right? And because I would caution, to your point, I would caution everyone listening that the things that sidetrack are like this lingering, long-term running type of occurrences. And even if it's just a bucket of sidetracks, right? Have to take a step back. Like we've talked several weeks about the operations and the management and planning, the business itself, right? We've done a lot on that. And that's where you need to take a step back. We call it just a check-in, right? And kind of like a self-performance eval at Jono. But if you have these sidetrack things going on, also you touched on it, but like, why are these occurring? Why do we have these inefficiencies? And I mean, most of the time we don't sit around and talk about the cost, but like in our space, if the website goes down and we have to shut off ads, there's a cost to that, right? If you're marketing in 50 countries and we can no longer make revenue, typically now the businesses say, well, what was the revenue impact there for a day or 6 hours, right? Because 6 hours might be prime time in Australia or Finland or something, right? So we're not making all that money what we would have gotten. So there's a cost to some of these sidetracks. So understanding what the costs are to this, yeah, that's a real eye opener. But if we can take things that are sidetracked and put an end to them, and understand why are these things occurring, create a system to stop them from occurring or minimize them, that's a big time success. That's a huge win for the business if they're able to curtail and limit the number of sidetracks that are occurring.
Limit them, man. Keep it, once again, never going to completely get rid of them. But if you can put them in a box and try to limit, and I like how you said the beginning and end, make sure they end. If they don't end, then it turns into quite an interruption. So, all right.
Oh, that's a good point.
Rolling on Founder Jam 17. Just as a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, we are a weekly broadcast for entrepreneurs and founders of businesses. We tackle a different topic every week. We want you to come on, share questions, share ideas. We want to learn from each other. I am 3 months into starting my own business, so I am not a business expert. I have some experience in and around businesses, but have not run one. Joe himself has worked for many, many large corporations. Now is the founder and CEO of Jono Marketing. So he's got some experience. I'm just fired up and excited to continue Founder Jam. And so we want more people to join the party so we can learn from each other. That is Founder Jam live Wednesdays, 3 p.m. East every week. Okay, question number 3, man. Let's hit it up.
You got it, man. Question number 3 is live.
Bam. What steps do you take to get back on track? Okay, so now you've been distracted. You have had a sidetrack.
Yes.
What do you do to get things back rolling?
I think, first it's important to understand what we, BAU, business as usual, right? What is that normal state that we want to get back to, right? So understanding what that is very important. And sitting down, having conversations with team members, right? Getting a lot of feedback. How are people feeling even sometimes, right? Are we feeling more overwhelmed? Are we feeling like we've gotten past some of these things? Our workload's back to normal. Our calendars are back to normal. Understanding what normal state is very important. So that way, in a normal state or goals, however you want to phrase it, understanding what that is, having it clearly defined someplace and saying, here, what's the delta between the two? And what steps do we need? Steps like, okay, we have to just have that one last wrap up meeting with so and so down the hall. Let's schedule that on Wednesday. Let's get that out of the park, right? Let's get that off our plate, wrap it
Mhm.
up, move on. So clear steps isn't some sort of vague kumbaya conversation. These is very actionable. Bring people in, set a plan, set a very like a short term of a plan, 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it is, to get back to normal right away. We used to have our executives call it get back in cadence. Now, I think if you want to, for people who want to be more advanced, and so kind of, well, before I get to that, real quick, steps. I think setting aside some downtime, right? So we talked about set a planning meeting. I think downtime is important. Take a break, recharge the batteries. If it's a day, if it's an afternoon, we actually had this baked into how we worked on certain teams at certain businesses. When we would call a hot issue, especially in like technology in Silicon Valley, like the servers go down or a business gets hacked, something like that, right? So these hot issues would happen, or even sometimes they're positive, right? So if we're trending, we're the number one trending topic on Twitter in the world, right? We had that a lot when I worked at StubHub. We trended more than any business ever has for marketing ever.
Mhm.
But you might stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning because of time zones, tweeting with people all around the world, right? And so you need a break, right? That's too much. So you get Friday off, you get Monday off, take a long weekend. So plan some of that downtime in addition to this really proactive time of trying to power through and get back to normal. Last thing I would say is if you get really advanced, the best teams, the best leaders use these interruptions and sidetracks as a reflection point to say, how can our normal state be better? So if you really want to take it to the next level, something tremendous happens, something terrible happens, and instead of just going back to normal, which feels good, it feels comfortable, if you want to take it to the next level, how could that comfortable state be even better than it used to be? Because
Mhm.
now's as good a time as any to change what day of the week we have our weekly meetings. What does the weekly report look like? Who should be in that meeting? Who shouldn't be in the meeting? Why do we even have these meetings? Why are we looking at this information versus this? It turns out it's actually quite a good time to do it. It takes takes a high emotional quotient because you've just come out of something. But the best teams use this a bit as an opportunity to push the business forward.
I love it, man. I love the idea of learning, right? I mean, I've gotten in this conversation a lot recently about how failures, and in this case, is interruptions, are really success hurdles, right? I mean, those are the
Yes,
opportunities to
that's right.
learn.
You brought that up about a week ago. Yeah, that's true. That's
If
true.
it doesn't take you down, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, to quote whoever started that, but also to quote Kelly Clarkson, right? I mean, I think it's
It wasn't Vince Lombardi. I got that one wrong on rapid
no,
fire.
no,
So
no, that's right. We did. So anyway, there's not really much I can add to that. I'd say the steps to get back on track, kind of just to echo what you're saying, it's really what is our cadence? What is it that we normally do? And find that delta, come to a conclusion. It's not vague. It's not we'll table till next week. It's handle the issue. You know, it came up for a reason. Figure it out, and then make sure that you schedule time if you need that you have a exact time that it's going to be handled or exact expectation to check in on, and then just get back to work. I mean, get back to doing what you do. If you've been listening to Founder Jam, we preach planning and processes for months now. So if you have those plans and processes in place, assuming you solve the issue, it should be seamless enough to transition back into what you're doing. If no one has a defined role, if you're doing what I used to do, if you're doing the I'm the wild card, jack of all trades, just put out fires guy, sidetrack expert, then you have a problem. But if you're prepared for that, it should be as simple as jumping back into your normal routine. So don't get sidetracked. Don't assume that interruptions are not going to happen, because they will. But when they do, make sure you handle them, and you'll be good. And you know what? The reason why I have a community like Founder Jam is so that we can ask each other and help, go to each other. I know that if I screw something up from a marketing perspective, I know that I can call Joe immediately and say, hey, dude, walk me through this. I got an interruption and I need your help, right? I mean, that's why we have a community of people. So I would definitely say have a good community to lean on, and maybe you can get some help in those tough situations.
Yeah, that's right, man. And you know, last on that, I think it came up maybe with Mark was quoting a book where someone said when you come out of these types of scenarios, you feel like you might be starting from scratch or lacking some of that confidence. And I think it was an author wrote, no one's starting from scratch. You have all this experience in your life, right? And you know the job, you know the corporation, you know the culture. So to your point, tackle it head on, right? Have that confidence, that fortitude to sit down, identify the delta, make decisions and move forward because you're not starting from zero. You have all of that knowledge and experience in the background, and that's a tremendous thing.
Cool. All right, man. Well, that's great. That was question number 3. Founder Jam is rolling through Founder Jam number 17. It is time, though. It's perfect timing for some rapid fire. So are you in the hot seat or what? Are you ready to go?
Hold on, let me hydrate.
Yeah, get some water there. You're going to need it for this one.
I'm talking a lot this week, man. You've teed me up pretty well. This is good stuff.
Yeah, man. You're bringing the fire.
All right.
All right, let's do it, ladies and gentlemen. Rapid fire. We alternate weeks. 1 week, Joe talks to me, gives me some questions. I usually get them wrong. The next week, I provide some good questions for Joe. He gets a couple of them right. So
he's rubbing it in, everyone. He is rubbing it in because he is winning, and he knows that if you're not a regular viewer, you won't know that. So he is just twisting it even deeper right now, guys. He is really giving me the business. All right, man. I'm ready. I studied this week, by the way.
You did?
Yeah.
All right. Check it out.
I read almost all of Wikipedia in preparation for this. I'm ready.
Okay, good. Well, I didn't go to Wikipedia. I went to Investopedia.
Crap.
So here's my first question. Now, work with me on the theme here. We're talking about interruptions and things. So one of the things in my industry where we think about problems and continuity and interruptions, we have insurance for everything. So I just went into my mind. I said, you know what? What is the biggest company out there that offers insurance products of any kind? Ooh. And I did not even occur to me. I didn't even get the first 3 right. So
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so to be honest with you, you're not going to get them right either.
I'm going to get one of them.
Okay. So can you tell me? Now, this is all insurance companies, not just health insurance, any type of insurance product.
Yep.
The one that I thought of would be number 1 wasn't even on here, but can you give me one of the I'll give you, honestly, you give me one of the top 10. Just give me one of the top 10 insurance companies.
Top 10 insurance companies globally. Okay. Globally?
And by the way, the first one is number 1 by more than 200% of, more than 200% of the second one.
All right, I have 3 that might be okay. One, like Lloyd's of London.
That was my answer, and then they're not even on here. I'm so
okay. Nope, that's fine. Okay. Marsh McLellan. Is that one?
Nope.
Oh man, I think they were acquired by someone. All right, so I had a family member work at New York Life Insurance, but I think they're like a $70 billion company or something, but that might not even be on there either.
No, that's
okay. HSBC. I know they do some stuff with business and enterprise. No?
Okay.
It's got to be companies that insure like freight shipping lines.
I'm going to give you
airlines.
I'm going to give you I'm going to give you 3 hints. See if you can come up with this.
Okay, go ahead.
The first hint is there's a lot of companies that are from the Far East.
Sure.
Number 2, one of these companies, remember, I'm looking on Investopedia, so you probably won't think of them as an insurance company. And then the third one I'll give you is
I have no idea, man. I thought I was going to be good with like Marsh McLellan, like commercial real estate insurance.
How about this one? What
and HSBC, right? Isn't that
I would have
like Hong Kong, Shanghai Bank, right? Isn't that,
There maybe this is one of their insurance arms or something. But the last clue I'll give you is number 10 on the list. Think of a commercial with a famous
Geico.
No, a person.
Damn. It can't be State Farm, is it?
Nope.
No.
But State Farm's a good guess too, but they're
Oh
not.
wait, isn't there one? There is a company that like Farmers, right, is owned by this. It's a Swiss company, right? But I thought
Think of
that
the
was
funny
small.
commercials. There's one out there right now with the lady, and she's got a whiteboard, and they're like, "Well, why are you using permanent marker?" And she's like, "Oh, because I want you to remember."
Progressive?
Yes,
No.
Progressive.
Progressive is on the top 10?
Yeah, they're non-health insurance companies.
What?
45.2 billion market cap, number 10 on the list. That
What kind of list is that? Who wrote this list?
Investopedia.
Yeah, maybe that sounds like a bad Wikipedia.
So
Holy
okay,
cow.
and
Give me
number
some
one,
others. What's number one?
Berkshire Hathaway.
Wow. That makes sense.
455.4 billion.
Yeah, we weren't in the ballpark, man. I was playing in like the 20s and 30s.
Yeah. And
Wow.
then health insurance. Give me the number one health insurance company, United Healthcare, 91.8 billion.
Wow. Massive, man. Massive.
Yep. Okay. So State Farm.
0 for 1.
However, State Farm was number one in what category?
State Farm, property casualty.
No, I don't mean category. That yes, probably. That's probably it. Berkshire Hathaway.
What kind of report is this here? I'm dropping knowledge here for people.
You are, but listen, I don't mean category like that. I mean, what I mean is it net coverage, net premiums written,
heck?
market capitalization?
When we said this was the unrapid fire round, we weren't kidding. We promised to always bring the truth.
All right. The answer is net premiums written.
That's a question? That was a real question?
Tell me how many. I'll give it to you.
Do you have any other questions?
Within $10 billion, can you tell me how much premium they took in last year?
State Farm?
Yep. Premium. So the amount people are paying for coverage. Berkshire Hathaway is number 2 at 46 billion.
I was going to say like 34 billion is where I was going to say.
But you're wrong. So I'll give you another chance. Progressive's number 3 at 41.7.
You said within 10.
State Farm is number 1.
Really?
Yes. So they're more than
Berkshire. Man, Aaron Rodgers must be raking it in. 62.
66.2.
Nice. Yeah, winner, baby. Winner.
$66.2 billion people are paying for insurance. I'm in the wrong industry.
Yeah.
Okay. The number 1 life insurance company. You said it already.
New York Life.
You got it.
Huge.
Total direct premium for them, $11.69 billion.
Wow.
Amazing.
Very
Northwestern cool. Mutual, number 2 at 11.3. So that's incredible. State Farm is also on that list too for that. Wow, that's incredible. Incredible numbers there. Okay, one more question for you.
Oh, thank goodness.
Here we go.
Remember we said things need a start and end?
Yep. All right. For small businesses.
Okay.
I'm putting my financial business management planner hat on. So if you work with Initiate Impact, we will help review these. There are 8 types of insurance policies that small businesses should consider.
Oh, wow.
8.
Okay.
Give me 2.
Cyber and general liability. Business liability.
General liability, absolutely. Cyber, you're going to I'll give it to you. Data breach insurance. I mean, yes, absolutely. So that's good. But general liability, this is kind of topic worthy. Talk about interruptions, commercial property insurance. So if you have a property, specific income on your business or someone who works for you, workers' compensation, you got to have that by law. Joe mentioned the security, umbrella policy to cover all of this stuff. And then also commercial auto insurance. If you have employees that are driving.
Very good. Very good.
So, but pretty good, man. I'd say
that was a good question to end on. That was very good. That was solid information
value for the Founder Jammers.
That was good.
Okay. All right. Well, we're 45 minutes into Founder Jam's Lucky 17, the best number in the land. And We will be coming back at you next week with Founder Jam 18. I will be on location in Michigan.
Nice.
So it will not be freezing cold. It will be nice summer weather, but I'll show you around small town Michigan if I get a chance to next week.
Excellent, man. We can't wait. This was it's good to be back in action. This was fantastic. No
Awesome.
camera problems this week either, man. No,
we are dancing. Check it out. Hey.
You can move and it's not pixelated. We love it.
All right, sweet. Put that. Hey, can we get the people to cut that up? Cut that up so we can throw that on the feed. All right, cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you next week. Don't forget, throw us our questions at BDPod, Twitter, Instagram, Joseph J. Nolan, Twitter. Hit us up. We want to know what you want to learn about. Founder Jam is all about community. So let's learn together. Catch you next week, everyone.
Peace.